Why has Facebook shared this information with other technology companies?
Well, it seems to be part of a larger scheme that Facebook had with, as it turns out, hundreds of different companies to share data at scale about these companies' respective users. And what they had to gain from this is access to more information about different users and different types of information that they may have not had access to through their own platform. And we live in a data-saturated age where information about people is worth a lot of money, and companies are willing to part with literally billions of dollars to have access to this information.
Do we know how many users were affected?
Well, the report says millions, so this is pretty fresh information. So I don't have the exact number, but this is a big deal.
And in the case of Netflix and Amazon, they were given access to Facebook users' private messages. I mean, why would they need to read those messages?
Well, it goes back to the same issue of having access to data about people in order to analyze the data and find patterns in the data, so as to get to know these individuals better, so you can tailor your own products and services in a more precise way to address these people's specific needs and preferences. So having this data is worth a lot of money to these companies.
And what are the privacy implications?
Well, I think it's a pretty good indicator that privacy as we used to know it up until 10 or 15 years ago is not really here anymore.
And for individual users who might be concerned, can they find out whether their information has been passed on to these other companies?
Again, this is a very, very new report that just came out a couple of days ago, so I think it's too soon to tell whether we can, as individual Facebook users, whether or not their information has been compromised. But I think it's pretty safe to assume that in one way or another somebody had access to our information.
This New York Times investigation comes after the Cambridge Analytica scandal from earlier this year, where user data was harvested for political means. How do you think these two instances compare?
Yeah, I think this is an extension of the same kind of phenomena that we've seen before with Cambridge Analytica. And it basically is an indication that we have, as individuals, become what's called hackable, as other people have said. So as more and more information about our private lives, what we do on a daily basis, the websites that we visit, our geographical location, the links that we click on online, the videos that we see, our friends, who we communicate with, and what we tell them. When all these become accessible and knowable to other companies, they can basically get to know us better and not only tailor their own products and services to fit our preferences, but also possibly to manipulate our behavior, which is a pretty new kind of development that we've seen over the last few years as it's manifested online. And it's a quite dangerous development as well.
We were seeing some pictures there earlier of Mark Zuckerberg when he fronted Congress earlier this year in April, and he assured them after the Cambridge Analytica scandal that users would have complete control over everything that they share. There are now calls for Mark Zuckerberg to go as a result of this New York Times investigation. What level of responsibility would he need to take here?
I think these calls for him to step down are not unreasonable, and they're understandable as well, given the outrage that's kind of brewing up, given these new revelations. But at the same time, I don't think this is really going to solve the problem, because this is not a bug in the system, in the Facebook system. This is a fundamental feature of its business model. And if we don't want to see these things happening again, the fundamental business model of Facebook will need to change. And it goes well beyond Facebook. This is the whole structure of the internet, where we have, amazing amount of access to all sorts of free information and services. But in return for this free access, we're basically giving away our information. And so there's plenty of companies, not just Facebook, that are basically making use of the same business model.
Did many people delete their Facebook accounts after the Cambridge Analytica scandal? Because there was the hashtag delete Facebook. Did that happen?
It happened a little bit, but I don't think it received much traction.
Right.
And even Facebook stock took a bit of a tumble, but they recovered. But they took a hit again just recently following these revelations. So it would be interesting to follow and see what happens in the future.